Here's a 3-month to 6-month escape plan from your corporate job. This is what I did pretty much step by step to go from working for corporate America 9 to 5 to working for myself, having a business, being self-employed, and no longer having to participate in the corporate rat race. Now, the time frame is going to be different for every person. I would say realistically, if you are single, you can probably do this in 2 to 4 months. If you are married, it may take you 3 to 6 months to do this. Now, step one is actually deciding that you want to quit your job. Some call this quiet quitting, where you decide that you're going to leave corporate America, but you just haven't given your 2-week notice yet. I'm guessing if you're watching this, you're probably in that camp already. Now, once you know you want out, you're going to have to get a piece of paper or grab your phone and use the Notes app and figure out the nut you need to crack. In other words, how much money do you need to survive? Of course, this number is going to be different for everyone, but how much do you need minimum to survive every single month? How much do you need to pay your necessary bills? And to get to that number, you're gonna have to look at all your bills, and maybe you're gonna have to cut some things out. I mean, do you really need every single streaming service? Plus, when I get to later in this video what you are gonna be doing with your time to build your business, you're gonna find that you don't even have time to watch those streaming services. So once you've pared down your list to the bare minimum of things that you have to pay for to survive, start looking at strategies on how to maybe lower some of those. Now, obviously, if you're single, it's going to be a little bit easier to do than if you're married and have a spouse and or children. But the assignment is still the same. Can you lower your rent? Can you bring on a roommate? Is it time to maybe shop and lower your insurance? Can you lower your utilities? Once you've got all of that down, you now have a minimum number. That is your target number. Write it down, because your goal is to, using your side business, hit that number. In my particular case, I started an in-home hospice and dementia care business. Obviously, if you have a skill, you may want to go in that direction. For instance, if you're in the trades and you are an electrician, you may want to start your own business as an electrician. And if you know the business you want to get into, I know a lot of people, they get weirded out by the idea of having mentors, hiring coaches or consultants. And once again, I'll address that later in another video, but it's a great way to shortcut some of the pain. If someone who's already done it can kind of walk you through how to get there and help you avoid some of the pitfalls, kind of help you avoid some of the trial and error. Now, there'll always be trial and error, but having someone help navigate you can lower the amount of pain that you're going to have to go through. And folks, I'm not going to candy coat this. There's going to be some pain, some strife, and challenges as you leave corporate America and go into starting your own business. Okay, so now you've decided that you're going to leave your job. You know how much money you need to make on a monthly basis, and now you know what business model you're going to pursue. Now it's time to get to work without quitting your job just yet. Now is the time that you're going to work on your new business. And how do you do this while you still have your job? You're going to block out time to dedicate to that business. You're going to want to use your lunch breaks, depending on your schedule, an hour before you start work, or the time immediately after work, or even using the hands-free call feature to work on your business during your commute to and from work. I personally use my lunch breaks and the 2 hours after work to make phone calls and find prospective clients, talk to people I knew that could make connections for me, and following up. You're also going to have to steal back time from your job. But let me explain. I'm not talking about shortchanging your employer. That would be dishonest and unethical. While you're on the payroll, do your job and do it well. What I'm talking about is you're going to have to maybe forego taking on extra responsibilities that are going to eat into your time, for instance, your lunch breaks or working overtime, so that you have time to dedicate to your new business. If your employer asks if you're busy so they can put more things on your plate, tell them you're busy. Don't spread yourself thin. You're going to need that physical and that mental energy to build your new business. Obviously, this also means that after work, you are going to be making some sacrifices. You won't be watching every ball game. You won't be making these girls' nights out. And you're probably not going to be up to date on the latest Stranger Things episode. And your weekends are going to be used building your business. Now, I'm a strong believer in a Sabbath. You do need a day of rest, but that other day, a Friday, a Saturday, you're going to be using to build your business. So yes, you're going to miss out on some of those fun activities that most people can't wait for the weekend to engage in. It'll be tough at first, but remember, you're building your own business so you can have freedom. And contrary to what people think, freedom isn't free. It requires sacrifice. So this is what it looked like for me. During my lunch breaks, instead of going out to lunch or sitting in the lunchroom and being social, I would eat my lunch quickly. Then I head out into the courtyard where people would go and take their breaks. And I would pull out my list of people to contact that I had put together the night before. I would call them and explain to them that I had started a new business, that we had people that were CNAs and experienced caretakers who were willing on a part-time basis to go into the home of people that needed hospice care or were suffering from dementia or Alzheimer's and needed assistance in their home. Now, of course, most people didn't need this service, but many of them knew people who did, or put me in contact with people who knew people who needed that service. Now, maybe in that moment, I couldn't contact those contacts, but after work, I was making those phone calls and following up on those referrals. And when I got a client, I would match their caretaker, nurse, or CNA with that new client. The next day, during my break, it was wash, rinse, repeat. And the weekends, that was gold for finding and following up with people that I couldn't reach during the week because they were probably busy as well in their respective jobs and or businesses. Now, this was the fun part. I'm now making money. Not a whole bunch of it at first, obviously, but I'm making money and I still have my regular income. So what did I do with the income coming in from the new business? Two things. First, I would invest it back in the business. In my case, obviously, I had to pay those service providers. And second, I was putting some money aside, a wild concept known as savings. And a couple of months later, I realized I did it. I hit that target amount. And then the next month, I did it again. I actually surpassed it, proving that yes, this new business was viable, profitable, and I did it without the stress of not having my income from my day job. But it opened the door and gave me the option to do so because I had hit that target minimum number and knew that the business worked and that it could replace my income. And that's how I was able to quit my corporate job and replace that income with a business that I had started while still working full time. I'm sure you have some questions. Please put it down in the comment section below. If you've done this, share tips with the community. What worked for you? What were some of the pitfalls? What were some of the challenges? And for those of you looking to quit your job, what are some specific questions you have? Put them in the comment section below and I may make a video on it. And if you haven't done so yet, make sure that you like this video, hit the notification bell, and subscribe for more upcoming videos.